Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 4 of Beyond the Banks, titled
Spy Games.
And dare I say, Matt, maybe my favorite episode so far?
For a show that's always riding hot, this is when things start to heat up.
Yeah, too hot to handle even.
Yeah.
So we start in traditional fashion in this episode, Matt. We start with the John B. voiceover.
Yeah, man, and just when we thought things were starting to look up, it really doesn't seem that way.
He mentions things like El Capitan and being the president, and I feel like he was kind of referencing a Free Solo Alex Holland thing. It probably times up with the release, I believe.
There you
if
go.
you looked it up. So yeah, you're right though. We're traveling along here, and things don't look as good for John B. Right?
Yeah, the battery on the drone is running low. They've already circled around 3 times, and there's no sign of the treasure.
It's just not there. So they totally honeydicked us at the end of the last episode, and here we are. John B. is riding back, and Matt, you know something I kind of noticed there?
What's that, buddy?
Every time they had to show a side view of John B. here, his hoodie would be in a form that the right side of his face, if the opposite side of the camera would always be out like a normal hoodie would be, but the left side or the right side, whatever side was facing the camera, would have to be kind of pulled back enough for you to see the whole profile of his face.
You could just see him brooding.
Yeah, you had to know he was handsome as fucking and upset.
I mean, he is.
Yeah.
He makes being sad look good, dude.
Yeah, so it was a real curveball they hit us with. So John B. Pouty faces and goes back to his house where he finds Cheryl. And Cheryl's at his house doing a quick little check-in and says, or so I guess that's what John B. kind of thought.
What's up with people just walking into this man's house and just sitting on the couch?
Especially when he's only 16.
Dude, there's a teenage kid in this house. I'm not sitting on a couch anywhere that there could be just some hard spaces. You know what I'm saying?
And by episode 4, it almost seems like anybody could have a gun. So
at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
JJ's got a gun.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not what John B. thought, though. And Cheryl is actually there with the cop, and she's going to be taking John B. because he is under the age of 18, living without any type of parental guidance or representation.
Way too much freedom, bro. And I just loved his defense in this scenario because he's throwing everything but the kitchen sink at her.
I think he threw pennies at him at one point at the cop.
He was so mad. He was like, I want emancipation. She's like, from who? There's nobody here. And he's like, I want asylum. On what grounds? Solid grounds, holy grounds, any grounds. You're not taking me.
He shows zero athleticism while trying to run away too.
So many. He fainted 3 attempts before he actually did it, but hell on him. He's super smart for grabbing that picture at the last minute, dude. He knew that was his key to freedom.
So they do, in fact, take John B. They have arrested him in some way, shape, or form. They're going to be bringing him to a halfway house.
I don't think that's it. They're taking him to an orphanage, dude.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So while in the back of the cop car, they have cracked the window to give him air because he's a dog.
Props on them.
And he is looking at a picture of his dad, his daddy-o, his pops.
Yeah, and ever so gently, this forceful wind, as we come to hear about it, takes the picture away, Len.
Blows it right out the window.
Wouldn't be the first time he's been blown.
And he, at this point, is like, guys, you've got to stop the car. It's my dad. It's my last picture that I have of him.
It's my last memory.
And you need to...
Cheryl,
you need to pull the car over.
You got to stop the car, Cheryl. You're going to let me go through this, Cheryl? Trauma.
You're already taking me away from my house, Cheryl.
The house that my dad wanted me to live in. What, such a weak defense, dude.
So Cheryl pulls over the car, of course, after that brilliant acting display.
That cop is pissed. Dude, he got out and immediately was just like, yeah.
Cop knew game.
Can't find out.
That no neck having cop, he knew game.
None of these cops have necks, dude.
Yep. I wrote in my notes when John B. dropped the picture, I wrote, clumsy bitch drops his picture and then runs away. That's what I wrote.
You're so insensitive, bro.
Well, he was being a clumsy bitch, and he did, in fact, then run away as soon as he gets Cheryl to open, because he's like, that incompetent cop will not find the picture.
He's like, I gotta help him. He's not even looking in the right direction. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be ruined.
And Cheryl, just gullible as hell, just
unlocks
the door.
Say what you will about John B., but he's a crafty one, man. He starts running and realizes this isn't gonna work. Hey, Jorge, look, a snow leopard, and steals a dude's bike and is like, yeah, I'll leave it at the park later. Like, no, bro, bring that back. What are you doing?
It's funny you bring up Jorge, Matt, because I do, in fact, I have a surprise for all the people. We have our resident reporter in the field, For Real Pharrell Williams. He is out there. For Real, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay. Still can't get my name right.
I've heard that you were able to catch up with what was his name, Matt?
Jorge.
Jorge. You've caught up with Jorge about his bike being stolen. What did he have to say about that? Did he mention the snow leopard?
First and foremost, I mean, he definitely was worried about any potential threat being around. You know, somebody points and says, "Hey, look out," you're gonna respond. I feel him on that. As far as the bike, man, he was pissed. His dad gave him that bike for his 13th birthday.
Well, I'm sure he was upset to find that it had been ran at full speed after being hit off of a ramp, which he landed flawlessly, by the way. But he just, head of steam, goes straight into a chain.
Well, as Sarah would say, he yeeted over that chain.
Did you just yeet in front of that chain?
Well, yeet over that chain.
No, she said in front of that chain.
Okay.
Which
That
made
makes
it even
sense.
funnier. Like, you trying to use a word that you don't understand.
Yeah, but like a real Bonnie to his Clyde, she helps him run away from the cops from here.
Dude, she's a down-ass bitch, bro. And I mean that, like, respectfully, like, not in a derogatory way.
This episode gave us the evolution of Sarah Cameron,
Man.
I thought.
She really bloomed in this one.
Pharrell, how did you feel about Sarah coming off of the first 3 episodes and how she was in episode 4, Spy Games?
Spy Games.
So initially, the first 3 episodes, I didn't really know what to feel about Sarah. She was kind of all over the place. Definitely showed herself as quite an oddball. And then this episode just completely evolved. All of a sudden, she's down for the cause. She's over here being the getaway driver and everything. Curious to see what more she's capable of.
So we're back on the kook side of the island, and they found that Topper's boat has in fact been sunken. And his
Thing sprang a leak.
and from there he goes to get a pump with his boys because his mom kind of punked him.
She was pissed, dude. It's like $30K because somebody pulled the plug. Mom, you think I'm that stupid? Yeah, clearly. You've done this shit before, Topper.
But like, what else would you do? You know, you would have to go get a pump afterwards with your boys.
Yeah, you'd have to, dude.
Only your
You gotta
boys
let
could
out the frustrations.
gas you up after something like that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, his boys are hip to the fact that it was probably Pope. They've beat him up to a pulp at the golf course, and they're like, it's most likely him.
Yeah, Rafe's a little nuts though, huh? He justifies the entire thing after they kicked his ass. He's like, they put a gun to your head, man. Sack up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, he's getting twisted in like all different directions right now.
Yeah, Rafe is very much like, bro, I had your back. Like, you're saying this is my fault. He's like, no, I just had my boys back after he got held up at gunpoint.
After you got punked, bro.
Yeah, no shit.
Tired of stepping up for you.
So, from here we get back to Sarah and John B. And Sarah has snuck John B. into the house to kind of heal his wounds.
Yeah,
lick
the
his wounds.
She took him right into like the fire though.
She's like Nala and he's Simba.
I don't understand the reference.
Me neither.
There's no licking of any wounds in that.
You're right.
Why are you making the Lion King sexual, dude? Shame on you.
So he sneaks John B. She sneaks John B. up into the. Is it like the It's not a library. What would that room be called? An office, maybe?
No, it's the den.
You think it was a den?
Yeah, it's a den.
I didn't see any cigars.
They're in the den.
So in the den, John is getting healed up by
It's the only type of place you can keep that kind of portrait.
They
That in an office.
in the office, John B's getting touched up by his lady
In more ways than one.
and he looks up and he just sees a photo. Man, that guy looked great. This painting on the wall of Denmark Tanny.
Who is Denmark Tanny, Len?
So I don't want to do his background injustice, but I think he owned the home. Am I correct in that, Matt?
he was the only survivor on the Royal Merchant after it shipwrecked, and because John B couldn't find the gold, he snaps into place where he's like, "Wait a minute, who is this dude?" And he's the only guy to probably see the gold before it sank. It's a little weird thing.
But now this wasn't so I know they referenced him being a slave in here. Was he because was it his house or was that the house he worked at?
So he was on the Royal Merchant. Wherever the Royal Merchant came from, he was on that ship. Whether he was a worker or a free man, we can't say that because we don't know. But
I think they
we do
definitely
know that according to John B's assumptions that we later find out about, he assumes that he bought the home that Sarah Cameron and the land that they live on. He bought that with the gold that he found from the Royal Merchant.
Yeah, so we find out that Ward Cameron, Sarah's dad, has donated diaries and maps and a bunch of other stuff
Letters.
to a local library.
I wouldn't say it's local, dude. It's on the mainland.
So they've got to get a boat off of that. So we flash back over to the other half of the group, and Topper and Rafe are watching Pope at his work, and Pope goes back to JJ at this point, and he's like, "Yeah, they know 100% that I've sunken the boat."
Yeah.
And JJ, being as ride or die as he possibly can be, is like,
Deny.
like, we're
dude.
gonna say you didn't do it.
No.
Like right to their fucking faces,
Yeah.
and I got your back 100%. We get a quick little shot in the police office or the station, the police station, between. Forgive me. What's her name, Matt? Do you know her name?
Schubert.
Okay, Officer Schubert.
Yeah, because they call her Shoop for short.
And then the other guy, not the no neck having guy, but
The short no neck guy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
him,
the main
him.
second in command guy.
We get a little quick thing there that lets us know that they know people are looking for the merchant. Sarah at this point is with John B. They've got to sneak onto the boat.
Yeah, no, one of the things we forgot to mention is that they had to get into the library, and Sarah's dad, because he's an alumni there, had the access due to donating that stuff. So she was his entry. He wasn't trying to bring her at first because technically he doesn't trust her. But she had the trustee pass, Len.
Yeah, last we knew, she had maybe snitched on him and got him to lose his job.
Yep.
She is a kook. He's a pogue, obviously. So some natural distrust.
Yeah, big time.
Yep, there.
Distrust.
Yeah. Between
big
them
trust
at this point. And to your point, he just sees a value in her presence because she can get him into the library.
She can get him in, but he doesn't want to share the information. He says, "You just got to trust me." And she's like, "Dude, I don't trust anyone. And I certainly don't trust anybody with a trustee card."
So apparently this ferry is far harder to get onto than this library from the trustees.
Yeah.
Because they have to sneak on. And I really did. I wanted to quickly get the perspective. Pharrell, how did you get to the library? Because I know we did not pay for this ferry.
I refuse to.
I mean, you guys are expecting me to do all these investigations, and the budget's really kind of low. So ultimately, I had to sell my tent. Went over to the local shop and bought a raft. Rough waters, but I made it across. The way back, not so fun.
Now, Matt, I know you had a cousin who had a similar experience. How did he do?
I haven't talked to him, but hashtag Elion. He's doing great. But shout out to him, man. He's really out there getting it, man. Sold the tent. We got to figure out something else.
Future note, for real. You could probably just take the tent and use that to collect the wind. You build the base of the boat with wood, and then the tent is what pulls you through the water. That would have been a good use of your resources.
Pharrell, I've also got a Hayward's gift card coming your way. You should be good for about $35 to $40.
I also have some advice on some hotel rooms you can pay by the hour. Don't ask me why I know them. So at this point, things below deck have gotten a little steamy. It's hot as hell down there.
To say the
and
least.
we're going to flash back over to the island. And we got the gang going to movie night. OBX movie night, Matt.
Dude, it was pretty dope to see the community kind of get together and just have everybody. And that there was no division of lines, no kooks, no pogues, just people getting together to enjoy some film.
Yeah, it seemed like the place to be. There was quite the turnout there, more than my town gets for movie nights at the park.
You guys do movie nights out here?
Yeah, we do. And I hope that people don't do what JJ did here because things immediately get tense. We have the pogues and we have the kooks. Things are coming to a head. JJ is claiming he did not bring his gun back. Do we believe him?
I did not believe him one iota, bro. He was to use his words, not mine. He was on edge because he was like, dude, if they corner me, I'm slicing and dicing, bro. I'm on edge. And it's like JJ's hair trigger, dude. So no way he didn't bring that gun. But where'd he put it? Did he keister it?
It seems that it may have been in a bag. But so we're flashing back and forth here, Matt. And it's like, I love the show because things diverge and they come back together and they diverge again. They part like the seas with Moses.
And not permanently.
And we're back on the boat. Like I said, things have gotten a bit steamy, right? Sarah's sweaty as hell. And John B, for some reason, doesn't have a shirt on.
Well, I mean, he was bleeding, so you can't wear a bloody shirt, especially if you're hot.
Good point.
And it only felt right to free the beast, dude.
I mainly wrote this down because I thought there was one very important line. Sarah says something to John B about, she makes an asshole comment about losing her dad, and then she says
Losing his dad.
yes, about losing his dad, and she says, I can't imagine losing my dad. And I thought that was an interesting piece of possible foreshadowing here. What do you think?
Whoa, dude. You got all that from that?
I think it the way things are set up there, she goes very descriptive and like how important, because up to this point,
Yeah, you're right.
I don't
actually.
think we've really gotten an idea of, like, we haven't really met Ward outside of him talking to John B that one time. Like, we have a couple minutes of screen time with him, but I think this is one of the really impactful parts of how he's the center of their family. He's very important to Sarah, and it's just a big thing in letting you know, I think, here.
It's almost like her giving his background, his origin story, so to speak, except we don't get it through him. Like she says, he was a pogue just like you, kind of self-made man, and kind of establishes this connection with us as the audience that we didn't really have due to your point, him not really being a huge part of the show up until now.
We got a really weird transition next, Matt, and I hope, I'm going to go to you for some context here. We get a transition into the coroner's office.
Okay. Listen, Len, when I hear hooves, I think horses, not zebras.
I don't understand this at all. Like, what is this guy about?
All right, dude. Well, clearly you've never taken a trip to South Carolina or North Carolina for that matter. You're uncultured. But this basically means if it sounds obvious, it's probably obvious. So when he hears, hooves, there's no zebras in North Carolina, dude. There's definitely horses. So what he thinks is, all right, I'm checking out these bodies, and you guys told me that these people got eaten by sharks. These guys got gaffed, bro.
Pharrell Williams, were you able to speak to the coroner at all?
They allowed me a few minutes for comment, and honestly, he didn't have much to offer. Dude's kind of a kook.
Literally or
actually,
figuratively?
Figuratively. Kooky.
Okay.
Wow.
Got it. That could be really offensive depending on what neighborhood you're in. Remember that.
Yeah, it's a troubling thing down here. It's getting to Bloods and Crips level. But he seems to know his stuff. He definitely thinks they were set up, so to speak. He sees evidence that they were possibly murdered rather than accidentally.
Now, Pharrell, this is the third dead body to end up on the Outer Banks since you've been down there. You getting any heat from the cops down there? They questioning you at all, or have we been able to kind of stay clear of that? Because I have noticed that we keep sending you to the scenes of the crime without actually thinking this through. So how's everything going for you down there?
They've basically categorized me as a pogue. They always think the worst of me. Color of my skin down here isn't much of an asset either. I haven't been outwardly accused of anything, but I'm trying to keep the evidence minimal.
You're just trying to blend in.
Yeah, I'd say.
We've now identified the gaff killer. That's what I'll be calling him going forward.
That's creative. You come up with that with yourself?
Yeah.
Insane, dude.
It just seemed right.
You're amazing.
So Sarah and John B at this point get chased off of the boat, and they need an outfit to change into because, as you mentioned, Matt, John's got blood all over the front of it. He's sweaty. They're gross. Like they wouldn't be able to get in anywhere looking like homeless bums. So they go to a kind of a rich establishment, and Sarah agrees to be his sugar mama.
Yeah.
And we move on to a scene that's very similar to D2, except there's way more sexual tension.
There wasn't enough sexual tension in the Mighty Ducks for you, dude? When they went on Rodeo Drive and had a runway moment? All right, man. John B. in his underwear, all the scene I need, dude.
Bro, he is bricked up, huh? Like that man.
I think you said something along the lines of that man's packing more than underwear down there. I was like, what, dude?
Well, yeah, close enough.
That's crazy.
But he asks kind of like a pretty reasonable question, I think, there. He asks, why'd she come, right? To this point, they don't have a relationship necessarily, right? She's also very wifed up with Topper, a man who they've recently held the gun to the back of his head. And yet he also is debating whether or not she got him fired, right? Like there's just a million signs here, and it's like, why are you here? I think it's a very valid question that she asks, and she basically just responds by saying that she wants to live her life, and that she wants to live with no bubble wrap. Was a big take.
I feel like this gave us a lot more of a clearer picture to who Sarah Cameron is. I mean, you talked about this really kind of being her coming out episode where we really get to see the person that she is and some of her values and her beliefs. She's not just that crazy girl hipster that's protecting mice on, from the seagulls killing them, right? She is more than meets the eye, and she's tired of kind of being categorized. She knows what the rest of her life looks like. She just wants to get the fun where she can. So I don't know, man. John B kind of being that taboo moment for her entices the moment a little bit.
I think much like Razor Ramon, they always just chicks dig the bad guy.
Big time.
So we go back to movie night, and like me at my old age, Pope has to take a piss. Like once it's in his head, he can't get rid of it, and he just has to go.
Hey, dude, drank too much soda. We've all been there.
Yep. So they go to take a pee. And
they're gonna go ring it out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Dopest line ever. While they go to ring it out, they get run up on by the kooks, and in this they start to scrap like for real.
Bro, Pope threw a headbutt, almost killed a guy.
Yes.
But Topper's not about that shit, dude. He's had a gun pointed to his head. He's been headbutted in the face. He just keeps coming back for more.
It's been a rough go for Topper.
Dude, he's all about it. His girl's getting gaffed in the bottom of the top.
So in the midst of this fight, Kiara gets involved, and she's holding her own. She starts beating him up with the bag with the gun in it rather than using the gun.
It's a whole different style of pistol whipping for sure.
It jumps on his back. She gets thrown around in a crafty moment, and I need to get a little bit of info from our guy on the scene, Pharrell, because this moment is very impactful to the town, I have to imagine. They're having a great night, and I don't know that they deserve this. So for real, Pharrell Williams, being that you're on scene, Kiara, what we know that they don't is she burns the screen here. What was the reaction? You were there, I believe, that night, right? You were taking in the movie?
Yeah, so I was on scene, I mean, you pay me to kind of keep tabs on people, so I wanted to go where the action was, or so to speak. Wasn't an action movie, by the way. Kind of dry. So we're all sitting there kind of just suffering through this movie, and I guess it's a big tradition in the town. But anyways, the fire rips up the whole screen, and it was just instant relief. It's like, great, I can get out of here. Movie, kind of dry.
It's like 11 p.m. after your girlfriend leaves as a teenager and you got blue balls. Ton of relief. So at this point, we go back to the library, and we're at the archives, where Sarah receives a phone call from Sarah receives a phone call from her dad, and we meet Vlad and Val.
The accents were great. I thought that their ability to get into character gave them a moment to get outside of the people that they have expecting to be around each other. And they really got to embrace their wild side. They got to be these people who they've always wanted to be. So I thought it was really interesting that they made this whole, and it plays true to the title of the episode, they made it this whole rendezvous point where they were doing this thing that they weren't supposed to be doing. Nobody knew about it. And John B's a fugitive, dude. So it kind of just played into a really cool moment with them kind of playing this role play.
Matt, I'll say it. Like they were cute as hell here.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's those moments that like we kind of we look for in our rom-coms. Me and you being huge fans. So
definitely.
I know you can totally relate.
I love it actually.
He finally kind of confesses to her in this moment also because obviously they've become a lot closer in the past couple scenes together. The accents, Vlad and Val. He lets her know his motives, why he's there.
Well, she demands it, man. She's like, I've gotten you this far. I've told you why you can trust me. You've got to tell me what the hell we're doing here. And he has to come clean, let her know that he's on a treasure hunt. And she wasn't buying it at first, but then realizes $400 million is definitely something to shake at.
She's like, oh, you're serious.
Oh, I'm going to go get this pass.
Yeah.
Let's go do this.
So they basically walk her right in. They thank her for the contributions, and they walk her right into the room. There was no sneaking around. There was no debate.
No
and I thought it was funny. You did mention he's wearing like this great dress like outfit, but he has a camo backpack on. Like no questions.
Yeah, dude, he's going into a library to steal something if you're bringing a backpack, bro.
In the library, in the archives, they find ties to the merchant and Tanny. It confirms a lot of what John B. knows, and they find that on the day that Denmark dies, he writes a letter to his son.
In a language that they cannot speak or read.
So she just gets a picture of it, and I guess you're left to believe they're going to get it translated.
I mean, hopefully they know a guy. Good thing we do.
Next, we find out that the police are on to Pope being the one that may have sunk the boat.
You didn't think it was weird that they had a security camera that was able to just pick out everything except for the actual person?
Well, I'd love to get full real Pharrell's thought process on this. You mentioned something earlier, and I can't help but to have noticed. Do you have any thoughts on the fact that the officer and Topper's mom were very quick to accuse Pope of all people, and then immediately call for his arrest?
So, I mean, I said this early on. I think it was episode 1. Pope's hanging out with a group of white friends that's getting him in a lot of trouble, and it was only a matter of time before it got to this point. Racism is definitely alive here, and it shows itself in this moment.
What a shame. What a damn shame. We're back on the boat now, though, and we're joining Vlad and Val, and they're kind of just vibing at this point. They're cuddled up, and Vlad asks her...
You're glossing over the fact that it's the next morning, which means they spent the night together.
That is very true. There's
unseen.
Maybe some stuff implied.
Yeah.
They're starting to talk, and Vlad asks Val, "What's it going to be like when we get back?" And she just responds with, "Nothing changes, I guess." Deflating moment, you would say, right?
A question for you would be, what did you think about in that moment for John B? Because obviously, they got to spend this night together. We don't really know what's happened, but you can tell that the chemistry that these two have, that they're both in a place that they're really enjoying themselves. And she just turned on him, dude. She was like, "No, everything goes back to the way it was." How do you think John B felt in that moment?
Like I said, deflated. You can kind of see it in his body expressions. Like he wanted a different answer, but he's not the one with a significant other here. Obviously, she's the one with the complications outside of that. It's a lot simpler for him, so we have to respect that. Hello, Bailey. So we'll just have to kind of see where that goes from here. But we join the police, who are now at
Hayward's.
What's at Hayward's? That's the name of it. So they go
Pope's
to arrest
dad's.
Pope
Yep.
at the request of Topper's parents. It's kind of crazy. Like everything goes quiet for Pope at this moment. Can't hear anything. And as he's getting the handcuffs put on, he's contemplating like his future and college going away.
And there's so much going on around him.
Yeah.
Key's badgering the cop. JJ's flipping the hell out. His dad is going crazy. And it's really just leading up to this moment where he's about to go in the car.
And suddenly through the silence, you just hear JJ like come through, and it's like,
it was me.
Pharrell, in the past, you've had a lot to say about JJ. And what you thought of him as a friend, and where you thought he'd be as the story progressed. And I would be interested after this moment, a pivotal moment in the show at this point. Like, I would say Pope is the most innocent of the entire friend group, right? He's got the most going for him, and they all know this. It was a huge moment. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Have you changed your opinion at all on JJ, or you're still stuck in the mud?
So this was a huge moment for my opinion of JJ. Early on, he kind of showed himself as a wild card, didn't really fully trust him. Then he kind of reeled it back, showed he was ride or die for the gang. Still kind of a wild card, keeping the peace on him. But in this moment, man, like taking the honorable fall for one of your boys, like I wholeheartedly trust him now. My opinion is completely different of that man.
His coming in rescuing Pope, it's surreal at this moment because even the cop knows it's bullshit, right? There's this moment where he's admitting everything that he's done, and the cop is like, "Is that how it happened?" And he's asking Pope, and JJ's like, "I already told you." He's like, "Shut up, I heard your story." And it's like all he needed was to hear it from Pope, and that was all she wrote. And it's crazy that JJ realizes it in this moment, leverages the fact that these cops know that he's not a good kid, doesn't come from a good place, and takes the fall for him, man, honorably, the way that Pharrell said it.
Yeah, I think there's something important that happens next. So, first of all, you're right. JJ is what I think like we all dream of being as like a friend in that moment,
yeah,
right? Like I think we all want to say that we'd be that person.
Almost like you'd give someone a watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like
in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. No worries.
The heartbreak and the torment you'd feel if they said no.
Yeah.
So JJ goes to jail, and in jail, I think there's one very important and the end of the scene with him in jail is him smiling, and I think what you just said is what it really is, right? I think in that moment he's saying to himself like I've given into what they've all expected. Like his whole story to this point is they assume, or I already know what I'm gonna be, right? Like he knows 10 years from now he's just going to be his father.
He's
right?
a pogue
drunk,
through and through.
Like he's going to be struggling week to week to get by, making bad decisions all the time, having terrible luck, like all of that stuff. It was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I almost saw in that moment, right?
Yeah.
And you can just see it's almost like calmness and like happiness comes over JJ.
It's the first moment where he's felt like he's had control of a situation, right?
And knowing maybe what happens next here, I think that's something that everybody should remember, like that moment, because the juxtapositions that can come. So we get back to John B and Sarah, or Vlad and Val.
Yeah.
We're not sure who they're being at this point. I think they're kind of teetering the line because we are back to the island, right, to the banks. We're exploring again the idea of what they're going to be when this is all over. And we get what I would call a Notebook moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's pouring rain. Is that the comparison that you're making?
Well, it's everything.
No, no, I'm messing with you,
The
buddy.
aesthetic, 100%.
Yeah,
it's
big
like
time.
It's almost. Earlier I mentioned like the Alex Holland stuff. I think I picked up on a lot of subtle things that felt like to me references to what I imagine either the director or the show writers are interested in or looking for. And I imagine they envisioned a lot
crazy
of this.
parallels.
This felt like they envisioned this conversation to go a lot like the conversation between Ryan Gosling's character and
Rachel McAdams'
character in the Notebook on the dock, right? Like on a dock the same way, very impassioned, like you're just gonna walk away from me like that, like we had this day.
Are we really gonna leave so much unsaid?
Yeah, like I think it just climaxes like this moment. He probably climaxed and
all over
I know
the place.
for sure I did.
Dude.
It was charged, right?
Had to clean the chair
Like,
afterwards.
It was a charged moment.
No, well, because it was hot with anticipation, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was so much that was left unsaid between the two of them, and the fact that they, what was it, 10 paces, and he's like, "What? You serious? You gonna let this happen?" And he's talking about how great this day was, how they're going back to a life where he's a fugitive, she's a bubble wrap princess. How are they going to make this work? And this is the moment where all of those complications go away and they just embrace that moment. But kind of comes with a price.
Really quick, I'd love to hear the thoughts of Pharrell. Pharrell, as a notoriously having a cold heart, and this being a hot moment, I'd love to know, was this able to thaw you out?
Icebox.
I don't think that's a fair assumption to make. Earlier, you guys said how you guys are into rom-coms. I enjoy them too. I like a happy moment. It definitely was heartwarming, but at the same time, the realization of the troubles to come kind of gave me some worry.
Pharrell, follow-up question. If you had to choose, which Gilmore Girl would you be?
I mean, Rory was wicked smart, so yeah, probably her. I don't like that I had to pick one, but for the sake of the question,
he knew exactly. He didn't waste any time. He knew exactly. He's thought about that question before. That was great.
And we end the episode with a very quick clip of the gaff killer. We see him from the back. He's got his gaff
in the shadows. Who do you think it is? No, I'm kidding. We know who it is. No, I know.
But I'd love. We have predictions coming up, right?
Yeah, we do.
Let's get to those. So let's throw it back over to Pharrell Williams, and let's get some predictions for the next week's episode.
All right. So I had a few notes here. I'll start with my shortest one here. So guy that shows up in the end scene there, he picks up what I assume to be a gaff hook. So I'm assuming he's our mystery killer. Probably the one that killed our, what do we call them? The wet bandits. I don't know the relation, but I'm probably assuming they screwed up quite a bit, and now he's the boss coming to take things into his own hands.
Yeah, that's a truly astute observation, Pharrell. It really does kind of come all into fruition here, where the gaff killer is where we're calling him now, has kind of cleaned out the work. The cops are onto him, and he's probably onto his next victim by the looks of it.
Do you have any guesses as to who it could be?
Pharrell?
So that's what I was kind of trying to figure out when we were given like the silhouette of the back of his head.
I'd like you to give me, and you keep saying he. I think if it was me, and I don't want to tip any hands here, but I would look at, there's a female option out there too that could be very logical in this, and I wouldn't pigeonhole ourselves, no man. But if you could, how about a prediction really quick? 2 to 3 people that you think could be the gaff killer.
So you're asking for 2 to 3 people that I think it could be, and really my assumption was I thought it was someone we haven't met yet.
I'd say all options are on the table, no?
I mean,
so if that's a prediction, that can I said 2 to 3 people.
Two of the three could be people that we don't know.
Sure.
My only other prediction would probably be, I forget the sheriff's name, the one that kind of did all the research on like finding out people are going after a royal merchant. He was missing for a whole episode, and that actually happened to be the episode where they turned up dead in the end. So maybe he has a hand in this.
Wait, I don't know if I'm thinking of the guy's name, but I just remember the sheriff's name. Peterkin.
Oh, it is. Oh, Shoop is the short no neck guy.
Ah, so that's who he thinks it is.
Nailed it.
So
yeah,
you
he
think
thinks
it's
it's
either,
Shoop.
just to be clear, for real, you believe that this is either somebody we haven't met before, or it is possibly Shoop, Dupe.
Well, you could have said Deppy Depp because he's Deputy Shoop, right? So
Shoop, Don't.
nope, doesn't work. Yeah, I respect you for trying it though.
I'd just like to add, I mean, the reason I'm kind of thinking it's him is one, yeah, he was missing that whole episode, but also he had all of the stuff that they stole, and it wasn't wet.
But then he couldn't have got it from the wet bandits.
I mean, maybe he got it from them before he tossed them in the water.
He's also the guy who found the safe full of money. So he could be dirty. And that would follow up on one of Pharrell's earlier assumptions and predictions from episode 1.
What other predictions do you have for us for real?
So my other prediction, you said JJ Smirk was because he was happy that he took the fall for Pope. And while I do now agree with that, my initial thought on that was he knows the gang's coming to get him. The sheriffs have proved they screwed up time and time again. John B is very elusive, and I think there's a jailbreak coming.
Okay, so just so that I'm sure, you think that 16 and 17-year-old kids are going to break JJ out of prison?
I do. The same way they deep dove and found a missing ship from 100 years ago. They've proved they're capable, more capable than your average 16 or 17-year-olds.
I think that's a pretty fair assumption based on the facts that we've been given thus far. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Do you have any other ones?
My other one, I guess, was more of a question than a prediction, but I'm waiting to see what happens now that John B has now established a love interest between him and Sarah. But in the previous episode, he also established one with him and Key. And then Topper is somewhere in the mix. So I just want to see how this all unfolds, because I feel like in this next episode, there's going to be some things uncovered that are going to start to kind of unravel this.
I'll tell you what, man. Pharrell's predictions, in the words of Pope, this feels better than a blowjob. But Pope's never had a blowjob. So it feels better than what he would imagine a blowjob feels like. And that's what those predictions are like, man. How do you feel about that?
John B kind of answers the question for Pharrell. Because he said with Sarah, it feels like it's kind of, he could tell this is like a once or a twice in a lifetime type feeling.
You say this is once, twice, or 3 times possibly in a lifetime?
Yeah.
Like a second or third marriage?
That's what he said.
He's like, I could see you being my first wife.
And I don't know that, I feel like Key is more a proximity thing, right? Like, they've been best friends forever. She's definitely growing into a very attractive woman.
She's honey dicking him, dude.
Which one?
Key, clearly.
Okay.
Key's honey dicking him. There's way too much uncertainty. She's playing games. And honestly, man, she's trying to be somebody that she's really not at the end of it. And John B has finally gotten to see a real woman who's down for anything, dude.
But it's funny you say that she's honey dicking him when the one who's got a boyfriend isn't.
Honeypot. Sorry. No, dude, this is real love, dude. She didn't sleep with Topper for a reason. It's because it wasn't real. Topper never took her to the bottom of a tugboat.
That is an important thing to bring up. I think you're right about that. Like that was also a bit of foreshadowing from us. Like she did not want that top D. She prefers that John D.
From John B, if you know what I'm saying.
So that about wraps us up for this week. And as I said at the beginning of the episode, this is probably my favorite so far. I'm really excited where we're going with this. Before we get out of here, I do want to hear a couple last things. So Pharrell Williams, hit us with your final thoughts.
I think I've done some great investigative work this episode in comparison to previous episode. I need a budget increase here. If you want me to continue to provide this level of work, I can't keep selling my home.
Hold on.
Hey, who's gonna pay for lunch?
Hold on.
Dude, I'm not eating subs again, bro. Just because he wants to stay in a nice hotel.
6, 7, 8, 9. All right, I got $10 here. If you can find your way back up this way, that will increase the budget going forward.
Listen, man, I'm not increasing the budget. It's a small island. You should be careful.
I've seen what JJ can live on. Final thoughts going forward. What? I mean, dude, we want to keep beating a dead horse with the fact that this man, we're not paying him more. He honestly, honest to God, I think I've paid him too much up to this point.
And he's not really getting a lot of work done. Like, he should already know who the killer is now.
He'll be on his soapbox here. We flew him first class. First class.
That's a good idea.
We put this man on Spirit Airlines first class.
First class. And did he thank us?
No!
Not even.
Not a fucking lick.
He talks about this tent that he had to sell, but the only reason why he had to sell it was because there was no power after we put him in a dope deluxe motel.
Matt, that tent was a Coleman.
Dude, it was huge.
Yeah.
I also sent them a Yeti cooler.
It had 2 chambers. It had the living room set up, and then it had the bedroom.
And the built-in cushions for the couch.
And he just sold it.
Yeah, no,
he
dude.
fucking sold it.
For a raft.
A goddamn raft.
Could have got a dinghy, dude. What's wrong with you?
Did you buy it on Warren? Like, that's probably why you didn't get across the fucking lake,
frustrating,
dude.
But he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Honestly, let's call him out
Bang
for
up
what
job.
it is.
Oh,
He
shit,
can't
dude.
work with this budget, but
The work at the library this week, second to none. And I would argue even better the fact that he took the time out of his busy schedule to watch a movie. I thought that was incredible, too.
well, we didn't pay him for that. That was on his own time. I'm not paying him
At
that.
the salary, I think we're always paying
Shit. He's salary. I've been paying him hourly.
him. So you're getting doubled down?
Wait, you paying him too?
Yes.
All right, we'll address this next time. He's not asking for more budget. Fuck this guy. Whoops.
Do you have any final thoughts, Matt?
Oh man, it's really starting to get juicy. Let's hope that the next episode bears fruit.
Right. Let us know what you're thinking at home, guys. We're 4 episodes in. Are you liking the show? Are you not liking the show? Are you enjoying the reviews? I'd love to hear that too. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You can hit us up at For Those With Good Taste on Instagram, at Good Taste Live on Twitter. Until next week, we're out.
Peace.
For those with good taste.